One of the things that's important to understand is that the industry has changed so much in the last 20 years.
We're here to talk about bread, lettuce, cheese, dead presidents, green.
It's just money, man. It's just money.
So first thing I always tell people who are young, getting started and starting to worry about investing is, one, having a plan in place as far as the saving goes. If you don't, it's just like with business. I always tell somebody, if you don't plan for profits, you won't have profits. Like, you build profits into your budget or you don't have profits. That's just how it works. So same thing at home. For me, I like to decide how much I'm going to save. And then I try to target that. And then I try to see if the budget is sustainable. So if you have a Roth or a 401k at work or something like that, then I'm always going to say, like, make sure you're getting your matching. Start with making sure you're always taking advantage of your match. Oftentimes your work has a predefined options. And then there's sometimes an option for where you can manage it yourself or have somebody manage it for you. And so that's obviously where somebody like Jack's going to come in and actually be able to manage it for you, and or consult with you and manage as you manage your own. A lot of people have questions about the robo investors and some of the betterment stuff. I think that could work for some people, especially when they're young and just getting started, because oftentimes you're just trying to save enough too that maybe it makes sense to go to a financial advisor. So Jack, I'd love for you to weigh in kind of maybe what the industry's expectations are for people to have saved to go to a financial advisor versus kind of your expectations. And then I'm sure there's all sorts of ranges as far as places you can go and how they manage that money. But my big thing is planning your budget, getting your HSA saved up, knowing where you're going to spend, and then actually knowing this money can be invested and kept there for a long time horizon, or the longest you can do, because you might be older. But one of the things I definitely have seen people do a lot is they will be in that position. They think, oh, this is ready to save. They put it into stuff, but then they have to sell it because they need to access that money. So my big first and foremost as somebody in that position is make sure you have a reserve fund, make sure you're taking advantage of all the free money. And then honestly, typically I just say, hey, go, here's the guy's number. I'd talk to him. And I have one or two people like Jack that, maybe I'll match up by personality and or situation.
One of the things that's important to understand is that the industry has changed so much in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, you needed a broker. Online brokerages were just getting started. They were still a fairly new thing.
How much did it used to cost just to make a trade?
Well, I mean, in the 70s, it was $300 a trade.
It's crazy.
But then it got deregulated and fees went down. And now trades are $0 at Fidelity, Schwab, TD Ameritrade,
Robinhood.
I think that E-Trade just got bought by Morgan Stanley this week. So I'm sure their trades will go to zero too. So you can do it two ways. And I would suggest to a lot of people, particularly if you've got the time and the interest to be engaged with it and you're doing it on your own, you can open an IRA or just a brokerage account at any of the big shops like TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, so on and so forth. You can do it online. And then put $500 in and make some investing decisions. It's a really good way to learn how the markets work, how investments work. It's a good way to learn about yourself, to know, well, I lost $100 on that thing. How did that actually feel? And then it'll give you a lot of knowledge for the way that you want to invest in the future. The alternative to that is you can go to, as Jared said, the robo-advisors. So those are places like Robinhood. Betterment and Wealthfront are kind of the original two. Betterment got started in 2009, I think. And they have a very good retail platform. And essentially what they do is you put your money in on a monthly basis. They will automatically allocate it among a diversified portfolio of what are called exchange traded funds, which is an exchange traded fund is just a whole bunch of investments. It's like a mutual fund, a whole bunch of investments put into one wrapper so that you can invest at all of them and thereby achieve immediate diversification, which reduces your risk. So that's why diversification is good. But that's another good way to get started, because they do an automatic debit from your bank account, so you can get the automatic savings. They're automatically investing it according to your risk tolerance, and then they will rebalance. So say that you put money in and then a year later, some of the investments did well and some of the investments didn't do well. Well, that means the percentage you have allocated to different types of investments has changed. It started out as 50-50 and now it's 70-30. What Betterment will do is they will automatically sell some of the assets that have appreciated and buy some of the assets that have not appreciated as much, so that your allocation goes back to what it's supposed to be over the long term.
So obviously you know a lot of this too, by the way. I just want to interrupt because you do it. Is there, out of curiosity, what is the line that most financial advisors even want a client? I mean, obviously Betterment might be great for somebody who only has $500.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel uncomfortable if somebody's using a robo advisor, as a human advisor who, or is there a number there? Well, how does somebody choose when they would switch? I'm just curious, actually, at this point.
Well, that's the debate that's going on. And I think that comes down to personality to a certain extent. Some people will say, and this is what Betterment's has been trying to prove for the last 8 years, is that there shouldn't be a line. They'll say the way that we invest is fine, no matter how much money you have. For the way that our firm invests and then tries to manage risk, we if you're retired, we have pretty much a minimum of about 100,000. That's actually a pretty low minimum. Most financial advisors, it's 250 or 500,000.
And that's if you're retired.
If you're retired,
yeah,
or approaching retirement. If you're younger, then it's probably more like $5,000 or $10,000. 25,000 is about what I need to put together a full portfolio.
Sure.
But if I can see that,
which is quite a bit less than the industry average, also.
Which is also less than the industry average. But you can see, like, well, you guys are saving, you're trying to get ahead. A lot of times we'll do it too because we're doing financial planning with clients also. Mm-hmm. So we can see the path they're going on and we want to walk that path with them. But those are the specific numbers, I suppose you could answer the questions.
I also just realized, hey, by the way, the answer that I really have for this question is develop a financial plan.
Yeah.
So even if you don't want to use, a financial advisor, there are people who do fee-based. You can pay for a financial plan and they'll help you make these decisions and customize this. I do know that Jack does this for a fee. And you can choose not to use that person to be your financial advisor, and you could also pay for a financial plan. And I know those can be economical and affordable and really help decide some of these key factors because every person is different.